trying to recreate the feel of an analog console, I found to be really futile. If you're working with the DAW and MIDI controllers, you're just never going to get that same feel. But you can come pretty close, and the advantages of having it all recorded and automated are tenfold. So if you're willing to give up the feel of an analog console, go something more hybrid like this. We're talking the same language. I can help you out. Everything is in the box now. You've simply got to have total recall for multiple client changes over long periods of time, days, weeks, even months or years. You might be asked to do a remix, make adjustments, do an instrumental, and your customers are pretty much expecting you to be able to pull up that mix and get to work on it just as you did back the last time they came in, however long ago that was. You've got to be able to do that. Otherwise, you're going to be constantly trying to chase that old mix, and customers are going to be frustrated and not happy about having to pay for that studio time. So you end up comping the time, and it's just a waste of your time, and it's frustrating for the customers. This is really the way to go. Try to get as many controllers as you can to make things more comfortable and tactile. The next one I want to talk about is this little device over here. Let me get these headphones out of the way for a second. This is a device that I purchased from a company called Rocksolid Audio out of UK. It's a very small company. The best thing to do is just to contact Rocksolid Audio, go on their website and purchase the product directly from them. They've got some really good prices on it too. I think they do free shipping. The main thing I wanted to do with this was to have hands-on access to my EQ. What you have to do normally with EQs is adjust parameters with your mouse individually, and you can only do one thing at a time. I wanted something where I didn't have to do that, and I could just reach up and make adjustments very quickly, even a couple different things at the same time. As you can see, I'm turning the knobs here on the top high frequency EQs, the red knobs, and as you can see, you can do several at once. You can do as many as you like, depending on how many fingers you have. That's what I wanted to do. There's lots of different companies that make emulations of the SSL console. And there's different series of consoles and things, but they all kind of look the same. They've got these cool colored knobs, and a lot of engineers are very familiar with that workflow, and as I am. And I really wanted to get hands-on with that. Not just the EQ, but you can also adjust your dynamics, your compressor, your threshold, your release, even your expander, your noise gates, and it's got buttons too. That's the sweet thing about it, is you can assign different buttons to different things. If you want a bell or shelf, you can change the type of EQ, pre's, all kinds of stuff with that. It's very well thought out, real solid little unit. I'll try to put a link on that so you can find that. And that just really changes everything. So instead of mousing around one little click at a time, I'm going in there and it feels just like I'm reaching over on my EQ on the mixing board. One thing I noticed about the placement of this, at first I had it over here on the right, on this side, which seems like a good place to have it with next to your mouse. But I realized two things. One is that if my mouse is in this hand, my other hand is free. So why have the EQ on that side? The other thing I realized is that from mixing on a mixing board for so many years, I'm always using my left hand. I'm a right-handed person, but I use my left hand to EQ. See if you're the same way. If you're kind of old school like me, you might notice that you like adjusting EQs with your left hand, especially if you're used to working on consoles and you've got your right hand on a mouse. The left hand kind of took over doing that. But you can definitely move this around if you want to have it more in the center. You could, so you could use, but I like it over on the left like that. It's primarily made for adjusting EQs, and this SSL one in particular, you can totally set it up to do other devices. Say I'll pull up an H reverb here, push the SSL to the side. Here's one of my favorite plugins from Waves for reverbs. Let me expand that. For example, and this is just one I pulled up, you can go in and map your device so that you can control different settings on that as well. And this particular H verb has a lot of different settings. So I wanted to go in there and kind of map some of those out. And it's not EQ. It's not EQ. I'm adjusting reverb pre and delay times with those first few knobs. You can also adjust any parameter you want in there. You can go in there, and I've taken quite a bit of time to map it out so it's a little bit intuitive. Like there's my filter there. Everything you want, you can map out however you want to do it. Dampening, you see there? I'm adjusting all kinds of little settings with that. So if you want to do something like that, so you're not going into the plugin and doing everything with the mouse, you can do that. Sometimes I do that, but again, I'm a little bit more, to be honest, I'm a little bit more inclined to just go in there and make those adjustments with my mouse because I'm kind of focused on that one reverb for the moment. But if you want to do both, you can. One does not override the other. Like here's an API 2500, a real favorite of mine. And I've set that up so that I can adjust any of the parameters on there I want. And you can set that up any way you want. You can, depending on how you want the knobs to appear. Obviously, it's not an SSL EQ, so I've got my release there, ratios, my release time, attack time. Set it up so that you can adjust any parameters on any of your plugins if you like to do that. I'm mainly inclined just to use it for my EQ, and it works really the best with that. You've got all the little different feature buttons. You can even change the type of curve or shelf you want. Turn the gate on or off, or switch it between expander and gate. Up the top, you've got a button that puts it out of phase if you wanted to switch the phase, just like you would on your console. Brilliant little device from Rocksolid Audio. And this is called the RA Micro 4K. While I'm on the topic, well, I've got this device up. You might notice that it's at a very nice, convenient angle, kind of like my mixing console is. It doesn't come like that. In the box, it comes flat, which is okay, but I wanted to have it at an angle so that I could not have to kind of lean over it. So what I did was I built a little, this is a do-it-yourself kind of project that you can do some weekend. And I've made a couple of them here. I've made one on this side that I use for my phone as well. And all they are is I got a big long 2x4 and cut basically right angle triangles out of it, and then I glue them together so they're, you know, it's two 2x4 stuck together, and then I sanded it down a whole lot with an orbital sander and made these nice little wedges, stained them with a nice stain that kind of fit the look of my studio, as you can see. Then I put some polyurethane on them to protect them. And the last thing is I put some feet on the bottoms, and then that keeps them from sliding around too much. And then put some Velcro strips on each of them. And this one, as you can see, it's mounted on there really tight, but that comes off. Anyway, the Velcro keeps things in place. It's a great place to mount your phone. I put a piece of soft Velcro on the back of my phone like that, and you can just drop that right there, and that'll keep your phone at a nice viewing angle. It's a little bit of privacy. If you wanted to use that for something else, like a Zoom call, you could also, I put feet on the back as well. You can drop it vertically and have your phone go like that as well. So great for a Zoom call if you wanted to do that, or using it as a second Zoom device. I actually made a few others that I keep in other rooms for different things. They're just really easy to make and cheap. So that kind of customizes your console even a little bit more. This little device right here is my Talkback switch and microphone. Over on the mixing console, in addition to the Talkback switch that's on the console, which you have to press and hold to communicate to the talent, I set up another mic on a stand just like this, another Shure mic, dynamic mic, and I've routed it into channel 32, one of the channels that I'm not really using very much. And I use that as a second Talkback switch over on the console. And it's nice about that, because you can just mute the switch, hit the mute button to turn it off, and when you want to talk to the talent, just turn off the mute switch on the board, and that communication stays open. You don't have to hold your finger on it. You can just walk around or even leave it on, or if you want to mute it, if there's people talking in the room, you can mute it so that it doesn't disturb the talent. But what I found was that I was constantly having to roll over from this position here, which I spend most of my time sitting over here operating the computer. I would have to roll or lean over all the way over to the console. I was operating that Talkback mic over there, and I got tired of rolling back and forth just to do that. because I'm not typically sitting there all through the session. Like you would back in the old days, you'd sit at the mixing board, but now I'm spending a lot more time over at the DAW. And as you might know from my other videos, I like to keep the mixing board area open for a second engineer or producer, somebody that's kind of conducting the sessions, look through the glass. I don't have to sit at the mixing board, especially if I'm not setting up a session. I can just kind of get out of the way and let other people like to sit by the mixing board. It makes them feel good. So I like people sitting over there and kind of getting involved with their sessions. They can even adjust levels if they want for playback. I'm not really using all the pre's over there anymore. So let the customers sit over there. They like it a lot. And to get back to what I was saying, I wanted to have a second Talkback mic right over here. So I rigged this up. You can have both Talkback mics open if you want, or shut one or the other off, which is nice. But I wanted to have a mute switch so that I could also mute that. And then when I want to talk to them, I pop that up, press it down to turn off. And you can set it up so that's reversible. If you want to have it down for on, you can do that. And then when it's up, it mutes it. But I just left it like it is. And what it does, it doesn't completely turn off the mic. It adds I think it's a 60 decibel attenuation or reduction on that microphone, so that there's not a loud pop if you're using a powered microphone. This is just a dynamic, but if you've got a powered mic, if you had a mute switch, you'll get a pop every time it disrupts that power supply. This doesn't do that. It just attenuates almost all the way off. There's a little bit of, you can hear a little bit of it with it down, but it's so low it doesn't matter. So that's made by a company called Rolls, made in the USA. It's a nice little company, Rolls.com. You can also pick them up on Amazon. And a handy little switch. You just plug your mic in and out of it, and it makes it a really nice little talkback thing over there. That's really all I'm going to say about the RA Micro 4K controller. A real nice addition to the studio that feels a little bit more like using a real console. It's starting to feel a little bit more like home.